Good morning, Chris Lee, Graham Doty, and Jake Reeson.
USA. Happy Memorial Day,
I
everybody.
wonder why Jay's in a good mood. Hey, we're here to react to the NCAA tournament pairings. I was going to go closer to 10:45 because I'm still doing a little bit more research. But hey, the NCAA has thrown us a curveball already. It's announced the top 4 seeds in the tournament. I didn't know that was coming. So I haven't even seen it. It's the top 4 SEC. It's Auburn is in there. I would presume Vanderbilt is in there. I would presume Texas is in there. And Arkansas?
You got it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I would have thought. But here's my takeaway from seeing what the committee did last night with the hosts and now this. I think RPI is going to be pretty loud in this case. It's a really small sample from which to make a conclusion. But, there was some talk, is Auburn going to be out of the top 8? I said I didn't think so. I had Auburn at 6. But Auburn's got a 3 RPI and a 4 KPI. Arkansas has got a 5 RPI and a 4 KPI. So that is what? Now, Georgia's the team that gets left out here with the 2 RPI. So maybe that's a little bit aggressive, my initial take, but it is what it is. And there you go. We know our top 4 seeds.
So you think this is trending in the direction like what basketball did? They rewarded teams that scheduled and had good RPI and everything?
That's a valid point.
Maybe. That's what I'm wondering.
Question for the group. Who checks more lists? Santa in late December or Chris Lee over the last 48 hours?
Good Lord. I'm still in the middle of it.
That's Chris Kringle Lee is where we're going right there, baby.
Yep.
No. I'm on the 4 seed. Who's tough and who's not right now, but we interrupted that to get here. And we'll do some of that and I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go a while for the show. And we could do some of this on the fly and share it with our listeners and watchers as we learn it too.
Chris, Sam Rogers in the chat is asking, should LSU have calls for concern with the RPI?
A little bit. I've been saying this for a while. But the committee chair is in Louisiana. And if they give LSU something outside the top 8, he's going to have to live in that state. And I think LSU common sense is top 8 anyway. The metrics don't put them there. And look, Arkansas was a top 4 seed. RPI had Arkansas 5th. So there was a little deviation there already. But also North Carolina had a 6 RPI. And I thought North Carolina would be a top 4 seed. That didn't happen. So double check me. It's Georgia at 2 in their RPI this morning.
Last I looked. Unless something weird happened after all the tournaments wrapped up yesterday.
Yeah. Also, this is why I think Kentucky is getting in the tournament too.
What is their RPI?
37-ish.
Okay.
36 and 38 KPI. That is the last I checked it. I don't know if anything changed overnight.
Georgia is 2 in RPI. Vandy 1,
okay.
Auburn 3, Texas 4, Arkansas 5.
So what could they have held against Georgia?
Well, they could still be top 8, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Georgia will be top 8. I would be astonished if Georgia's not top 8.
I mean, to me, if you're top 8, like you're sitting pretty. Like it doesn't matter. Sure.
Has the committee done this before? I don't remember that.
I don't remember them dropping everything all at once last night. They normally do it one by one, nice, neat graphic. They dropped all 16 at once last night. And then I just happened to be on my phone and it was like, wait a minute, they just released the top 4? And that's when I texted you guys.
I know. They've never done that. So, by the way, is this on ESPN, ESPNU?
ESPN2.
It's the Ocho.
Okay. The Ocho. The
Gosh,
Ocho.
these are shorts.
It should be the Ocho. Also, before we get started, Gig and Bart, what are we going to do about Early? Like, is he staying? What's Tex Ag say?
Oh boy, that whole Jace Laviolette thing certainly complicated it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Which props to Bart. Bart has been here, win, lose, rain, or shine, and kind to everybody.
Yeah, agreed.
The only thing, looking at the numbers, Chris, and this is not my forte. I'm normally movie quotes. This is in your realm. Vandy 18-3 in quad, 18-13 in quad one. Auburn 16-12 in quad one. Texas 17-11 in quad one. Arkansas 14-10 in quad one. And in that team picture, Georgia's 11-11 in quad one.
Oh, okay. Let's see. You're right.
So if that's the case, he said since Auburn is top 4, which team do you think that screws out of the top 8?
See, this is the order I had it. Vanderbilt, Texas, Arkansas, North Carolina, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, Coastal. That was my top 8 when we stopped doing this last night.
Did you stop doing this?
Well, no, not really. I mean, at the end of the broadcast. But, well, no, I didn't go back over that because I thought we had that. I thought I'd parse that every way it could be parsed. Now, I'll tell you this. I believe D1 has Oregon State as a top 8. I had Oregon State as at 14. I just dig into the resume, guys, and I just don't see – I don't see it. I don't see anything that makes Oregon State a top 8 team. I mean – there's a possibility. Now, Cal Poly's in now is in at large, but there's a possibility that they had 5 wins against teams in the field. Now, if Virginia and Xavier get in, that gives them 8. But when I look at Oregon State, I feel like they gamed the RPI. And look, I'm not anti-Oregon State. I feel awful for what happened to them. And I do think, the committee's got a lot of mid-majors. And the mid-majors have been getting screwed left and right in realignment, transfer portal, you name it. And there could be a sympathy vote thrown their way for a host. The metrics are there, but when you dig into them, man, they have gamed the RPI. I don't know if it was intentional or it just happened, but I just don't see Oregon State as a top 8 team. We will see what the committee does.
If somebody's going to get screwed, it's them, right? Since they're independent, they don't have anybody fighting for them.
Yeah, I mean they're going to host, right? But I just don't see a top 8 for them. I mean, I look in and I don't know how on what they did and what others did that they could be there.
The numbers back you up, Chris. I mean, that's a team that's 41-12-1 on the season. And I know with all of the shenanigans and conference realignment and all the moving pieces, a lot of this is not their fault. But again, 41-12 overall, 11-11 in quad one, which means they pissed on everybody else to the tune of like 31-1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, and there's something to be said just for winning games. You could play an awful team 100 times and you're going to lose a few just by.
Not if they don't get Kelly Leak and Tatum O'Neal throwing a nasty cutter. I mean, Chico's bail bonds would have lost every game if they don't go on the free agent wire.
I knew I missed something. I forgot Chico's bail bonds today. We'll break that out this week. I got the gear, man. I've even got the hat.
Yeah, go all out.
Way to join the crew, Preston Shaw. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Preston.
Thanks, Preston. So this A&M stuff, like Gig'em is saying, we don't want to know what Tex Ags is saying. Kendall Rogers, yes, it doesn't take a genius to read between the lines. Kendall has strongly been hinting on social media that A&M will make a change. Kendall lives in that area, went to A&M, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be a tough one to do. I've had to In another professional life, I've had to fire people before, and even people that deserved it. We're not very nice, and that's no fun. And Michael Early seems to be very likable. So, and you know what? Maybe you do wonder with the reboot. I mean, he got thrown in the – I'm not going to say he got thrown in the deep in the pool because they have a lot of talent. But, I mean, the way that all went down in Omaha, with the coach being ripped out from under them as they're playing, tampering, what God knows what else went on, right? I mean, that was a tough spot to come in and recover from. And you're 37, it's your first coaching job. I think I said at the time, 37 is really young to be in that kind of spot. Really young.
They're saying Tex Ags is saying that the injuries were too much to overcome, and he'll probably be back.
Okay, well, I mean, and they did have some dudes hurt. They had an All-American third baseman. They had a first, second round caliber outfielder. I know they had plenty left. I get it, but
would that have made a difference? I don't think it would have made a difference.
You know, like Gavin Grohovac would be the difference between them getting in the NCAAs or not.
Man, everybody has things that pop up here and there.
Well, I know, but that's an A-list slugger.
But to not make the tournament.
I get it. I mean, that shouldn't be the difference in them making the tournament or not. But that's there are injuries, and there's injuries with a capital I. Yeah, that was one of them.
Wes says if I was a coach, I wouldn't mind getting thrown in that pool with all those floaties.
I did defend him a little bit, didn't I, Wes? That's good. I like Wes. Wes is a regular here. All right. You know what I'm going to do? I have kind of figured out a way for us to track this, if I can find it.
Cheddar Goblin says Auburn top 4 is criminal over North Carolina.
Criminal's a little strong, but I did have UNC in there.
UNC will Auburn, top 8.
Auburn took on some dudes now, guys.
I think it's because of the way Auburn closed the Ole Miss series and then the tournament. I mean, that's like what you do. The most recent is what sticks in people's mind. I think that's what everybody's envisioning.
And they're attractive and charismatic alumni. I mean, I think there's
absolutely.
I think there's a lot in they check a lot of boxes. Although the preemptive announcement of the top 4 really puts an exclamation point on any SEC bias.
No kidding.
I've made a way. I think we can track this together and piece together some things as it's going. And let me share it. Just a moment.
Wicked Brew, you're not wrong. It got ridiculous at certain points. Talking about how Ole Miss needed to keep winning.
Yeah. Okay, here's what I got here. I've got all the teams that I think are going to be in. We know our 1 seeds because we got those last night. And I'm guessing on the 2s and 3s. Asterisk means they won the conference tournament, so they're in regardless. You can see where my cut line for at large is. I've got Kentucky up here again. I think if what we're supposed to read into that is they rewarded RPI, then I feel pretty good about Kentucky getting in. Also, if the committee watches baseball, which it says it does, and says the committee chair said there's no excuse not to, then, hey, if you watch Kentucky, my goodness, they put a scare into pretty much everybody they played. I've seen them that they got a bunch of tough breaks. Some of it's their bullpen. All the back end was not good enough. I get it. Sometimes you make your own breaks. But Kentucky, to me, is an NCAA tournament team, and it would be a bad omission, in my opinion, if Kentucky were to be left out. But what I'm going to do, what I've got here, this is the way I've got the field seated. Again, you can see the cut line. Connecticut's the last team in, and I put anybody and everybody that could potentially get an enlarged bid down here. And so if we start pulling from this list.
Oh, he hit the button.
We cannot have this today. I mean, this is like Joe Lenardi having internet troubles on Selection Sunday.
Okay.
Hit the button again.
Note to self, anytime you swipe left on your screen, StreamYard kicks you out. So let's try this again.
Chris, what do you think? Caleb Falk in the chat says D1 had Kentucky out, Oklahoma State in.
I saw that. I just don't agree with it. And I'll tell you why if I can find it. And again, if we're going just what does your RPI say? What does your KPI say? Which seems to carry a lot of weight based on what little hints the committee has given us so far. Then Kentucky is, if you average the RPI and KPI, which I've done, Mississippi State 35, Kentucky 37, Southern Cal 44, Oklahoma State 38, Kansas State 40, Connecticut 46, Arizona State 41, Virginia 55, Troy 50, Notre Dame 44, Xavier 45. You'll notice something here. Kentucky's the highest of all those teams.
Yeah.
That's and I read you some teams that'll be in everybody's, and I read you some teams that'll be bubble, and I read you some teams that'll be in nobody's. But the one constant there is Kentucky's RPI and KPI both have them as an at-large team. And again, the thing I say all the time, I'm not God, and I also can't read minds. So I just try to go with the evidence in front of me, and we know for a fact those are two things the committee looks at. So I try not to overthink it most of the time unless the situation warrants, and I just go with that. Now, again, there's going to be some exceptions, but I mean, man, if you had any question about whether Kentucky belongs in a tournament, and I know I can't make this as a standalone argument, but if you want a little more validation, you saw what they did to Tennessee and Knoxville. You saw how tough they played Texas when nobody was beating Texas. You know, I saw them in Nashville. They led Vanderbilt with two outs in the ninth inning in games 1 and 2. The team that's about to be your number one national seed, in my opinion. They had a lead on Vanderbilt, I think, until the 6th or 7th in game 3. Look at all their conference games. They rarely got blown out. They played with the big boys. They competed. They lost more often than they won, but when they lost, they pushed you. And to me, that's an NCAA tournament team.
The one thing you didn't say, Wes just said it. They swept Oklahoma on the Sooners.
They also swept Oklahoma. Yeah.
That 18 numbers hanging over there is looming, though, in their quad one. Yikes.
Yeah, I know, but everybody in that quad one territory has that problem. They're all ugly. Kansas State's 5-17. Everybody's got Kansas State in the field. Now, again, that's a special case because every single one of those games was away or neutral site. But
Sam Rogers, are we going to see an Auburn, Tennessee 4-13 matchup?
You know, I had Tennessee as the 13. That's going to be the other thing. Is the committee going to try to tweak a seed or two here or there to avoid those? Or is it going to lean into them?
A rematch, but this time in Auburn?
Mm-hmm. Bart brought up some bad memories. Boy, there's been a lot of them for A&M this year.
Yeah. Gig and Bart, do you want to rank the bad memories? Can you do that?
Bart, why would you do that? Bart's a nice guy, Graham.
I feel like it's just been like so many different things on the field, off the field. It's just been the season from hell. Hey, everybody has
you want to detail the pain. Feel like
don't act like every fan base doesn't have
the school nurse after you skin your knee that she's breaking out the iodine. I mean, nobody likes that guy.
Gig and Bart, we'll need an entire show for that.
Gentlemen, we're 2 minutes to Wapner here.
Attaboy, Rain Man.
Yeah,
Kmart sucks.
I knew you'd get it.
I'm pretty excited, honestly.
I'm super excited.
I'm excited, and then I'm just like, I was taken aback a little bit when I was like, oh, Auburn top 4, wow. And then I do think Vandy is going to be 1.
I do too, and they probably deserve it.
Somebody asked me scariest 2 seed. Okay, here's another thing I've done too. See the number by everybody up here? I went by D1's DSR rankings, which I think are really good, and I think they're the best computer rankings out there. And the number by them is what DSR thinks of them as a baseball team. Now, look, baseball is a different game. If you're facing Oklahoma State with Kyson Witherspoon, it's different than facing Oklahoma with Kyson Witherspoon. It's different than facing them with Malachi and so on. But as a summary, I think DSR does a really good job of summing up team strength. And look at Northeastern, guys. And that one's hard to do because they didn't play a killer schedule. But, man, their stat sheet is amazing.
They remind me so much of Fairfield. Do you remember Fairfield? This was like 3 or 4 years ago when they rigged the RPI, and their RPI was like 2 or 3. That reminds me so much of Fairfield.
Fairfield, isn't that where Rodney Dangerfield turned into a diver in Back to School?
I don't think I ever saw that all the way.
Oh, he did the triple Lindy, man.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is he got on Rodney Dangerfield getting on the platform to pull off the dive to win the meet. He hits it with the elementary school arm noise. Oh, man. Rodney Dangerfield, God bless you, sir.
Yeah, RIP.
Northeastern did take a series from Kansas State, by the way, which I think is – I've seen some teams having Kansas State as a 2. If you get Kansas State as a 2 in your region, you can do the happy dance there.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of Dallas Baptist love in the chat.
Yeah.
For the scariest.
By the way,
dude.
Yeah, I think they'd be up there. But anyway, I've got every team's DSR up here, so you can see what – and you'll see these. We'll start pasting these into the regionals so you can see how the draw develops for every team. And again, it goes beyond that. That's just one number. There's a lot more that goes into it. But just as a 30,000-foot view thing, I think that's going to be interesting. And Quinn, thank you as always for your super chat. Quinn is the number 1 super chatter on this channel, hands down. We appreciate you, Quinn. Auburn absolutely deserved a top 8 national seed. 4 is higher than I had Auburn, but I can see why. Because Auburn did all the stuff that the committee likes.
Mm-hmm. So who do we think is going to be on the show? Like, I'm assuming Kyle Peterson, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what other baseball expert ESPN
Mike Rooney
would have. Yeah, he's normally on it.
And they usually have a third guy that's just the host. And Rooney and Peterson are the analysts, right?
Yeah. They've been like the top 2 guys for a while. Yep. That's it. They're the 2. Here we go.
Who's the host? I can't tell. Do you have a split screen on ESPN2?
No, this is the one and only main screen.
Okay. I'm wondering if okay. Somehow I've set this to multi-view. I didn't mean to do
that. Wes, I would love to see Stephen A. Smith as sitting side chair for this bracket reveal and somehow be able to turn this into a Cowboys bashing and or a Nick love
or
fest.
Lakers. Yeah.
Yes.
Could you imagine him trying to talk about college baseball?
No. I'm just glad they cared enough to put people on who know what they're talking about.
An eventful day
sure
for Kyle Peterson. Peterson was in Hoover yesterday. Now here he is in studio for this.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
If they put Stephen A. on the broadcast, I think somewhere in Upper East Tennessee, Alfred's mustache would fall off.
Hey, look at this.
I like how they go over the tournament format. Like everybody tuning in doesn't know the rules.
Right.
That's a great point, Graham. Because if you're tuning into the college baseball tournament reveal show, you've got a vested interest at this point.
Yeah. So Vandy is
don't
the
try
number
to explain
one.
the infield fly to this group.
Vandy
right.
1, Texas 2, Arkansas 3, Auburn 4, North Carolina 5, LSU 6,
Okay.
Georgia 7.
Carolina's 5.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Oregon State is 8.
Wow.
JM, it's on ESPN2 right now. So they have just released the top 8. Any of those
SEC
surprise
teams
you?
in the top 8?
6 of the 8 are SEC.
All right. I'm going to do this with DSRs. Forgot to do that. So you can see perceived strength.
I think that's the committee giving Oregon State a gift.
Okay, they're going Vanderbilt Regional right now. Wright State as the 4.
Okay.
Is this helpful? Y'all want me to read all this?
No,
Or say it?
absolutely. I've got my hands full with my own stuff.
All right.
Okay, so that's a geography pick. That's not an easy 4.
So Wright State the 4. They're about East Tennessee State.
Ooh.
I guess they're
Okay.
the 3.
Yeah. Okay. They didn't give Vanderbilt an easy draw for a 1 then. I can tell you that. I would think Louisville's the 2 or maybe
Louisville.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, Louisville's the 2. East Tennessee State's the 3.
Yeah, that's not the easiest draw for a top national seed.
Well, they did heavily geography, which is kind of what
Heavily.
we were doing last night.
Okay, so that keeps ETSU out of Knoxville.
I think you're going to see some of those Carolina schools creep in Knoxville now.
Maybe.
Or maybe Georgia Tech. Or they're doing Hattiesburg Regional right now for some reason.
Okay, so that's who's paired with Vanderbilt?
Yes.
They don't tell us. Okay, there we go.
Southern's a 16 seed.
Okay, that's not an easy pairing either. Man, they have done Vanderbilt no favors so far. Although Louisville's a 2 is very, very doable.
I think we're going to see it. Columbia is going to Hattiesburg.
Yeah, Columbia's given up a lot of runs.
Not a lot of crossover between those 2 schools.
You're not going to have a tough time picking out who's cheering for who between the Hattiesburg locals and your Columbia alumni.
Yeah. Columbia won the Ivy at 29-17. Wow, Miami's going to Hattiesburg.
Okay. That's is a 2 or a 3?
They're not giving it on the show. We're gonna find out here. Bama's also going. Goodness.
Okay, Bama
gracious.
would be your 2.
And then Miami the 3. Good Lord.
I'm gonna start peeling these off the board too, so that we know who's left. Okay, so Alabama's the 2.
Miami's the 3.
Yeah, hang on.
And then Columbia. If you haven't seen Southern Miss play, they got one of the best pitchers in the country. No joke. Like that guy would be an ace almost anywhere. Yep. So now, if you're watching it, they got all the teams in the Vandy and Hattiesburg regional.
Okay.
Now they're about to do Florida State. So Florida State is the 9 seed. Bethune-Cookman is going to Florida State. Not a surprise.
Okay.
Three seed Mississippi State going to Tallahassee.
That was predictable to some degree, although it keeps Florida out of there now. So Florida, will they send Florida to Clemson back-to-back years?
And then Northeastern. Whoa. Northeastern is going as the 2 seed.
Ooh. Okay, that's – I kind of talked about pairing Mississippi State and Northeastern together just because they were kind of – you could argue one should be a 3 and one could be a 2. Goodness gracious. Okay.
The question, though, is like whoever wins that state game, they're probably going to face Jamie Arnold, right? Because Florida State, they're not going to waste Jamie Arnold on Bethune-Cookman. I mean, that's what I would
think
do.
So. Yeah. Okay, Alabama's 14 in DSR, and Miami, I think, was around 40.
All right, now we're doing
Deleted that
Oregon
one.
State. Oregon State, the 8 seed. They have a tie for some reason.
Yeah, so
There's no tying in baseball.
I know. They're 42-11-1. Or 41-12-1. St. Mary's is going to Corvallis as the 4.
Oregon State got a gift as an 8. My goodness. And I understand why. I told you all the reasons. But I'm not a believer.
The
St.
3
Mary's
seed,
will not be an easy 4, though.
The 3 seed is USC.
Okay, so Southern Cal got in, which I thought would.
And TCU is the 2.
Ooh, okay. Well, yeah, the committee's not making it easy on them.
Are we surprised they didn't send an SEC school out there?
I thought Kentucky could be a candidate, but we've still got Oregon and UCLA on the board.
Yeah. But remember last night we were talking about how somebody always gets screwed. TCU, congratulations. You're going to Corvallis.
Yeah.
So, Sven, I'm with you on the 400 miles rule, but there's just too many SEC teams not to send one of them out there.
Chapel Hill, 5 seed. They're about to do this side of the bracket.
Okay. I wonder if West Virginia goes there.
Holy Cross.
Holy Cross.
Is the 4 seed.
Okay. We're pretty sure they weren't getting sent to Auburn. Okay, so that's not a terrible 4. Although I think they did take a game from Auburn. The Cade Blue weekend.
Nebraska is the 3 seed.
Okay, well, that's not one of the. I guess that's an okay 3.
I didn't realize they won the conference tournament 2 years in a row, by the way.
Yeah, they played in Omaha too.
And then Oklahoma's going to Chapel Hill.
Oh, it's a 3. Okay.
It's a 2. They're the 2.
Oh, it's a 2.
And then Nebraska's the 3.
Ooh,
So
old school ABC Keith Jackson football rivalry in the 2-3 game in Chapel Hill.
So we haven't had anybody that I didn't think was getting in yet get in. Here's my out list down here. By the way, if there's any comments or anything or super chats, let me know. I've got my head on putting the bracket together.
All right, here we go. Oregon is the 12 seed. We don't have any super chats right now.
Okay.
But if you want to, by all means. Utah Valley's the 4 seed.
One of the worst teams in the tournament.
You could have given me a million guesses. I wouldn't have guessed Wolverines as their nickname.
Do you know what the name of the school used to be?
What?
Utah Valley?
Yeah.
Is that the one that used to be Dixie State?
Oh, yeah. Arizona is the 2 seed in that regional.
Okay.
So former Pac-12 matchup.
And who's the 3 again?
Cal Poly.
Okay.
Ryan says Iowa is being disrespected. Man, their RPI is like in the 70s.
Okay. So Oregon got a fairly easy 2, an okay 3, and a bad 4.
Coastal Carolina is the 13 seed.
What? Wow. I was way off on that.
What do you think they were going to be?
I thought they'd be top 8.
Fairfield is the 4 seed.
Hang on. What Coastal is he 11?
13.
What did you? Oh, the 13. Good gracious. So okay, well, boy, that's not great if you're Auburn. And then who's the Fairfield?
Fairfield.
Okay, so they gave him one of the tougher 4s.
And then East Carolina is the 3 seed.
Interesting.
East Carolina doesn't look happy at all. Unless there's a big delay. And then the Gators are going to Coastal Carolina.
Whoa. Wow. Coastal, that is a tough draw for the season Coastal had.
Yikes.
Goodness gracious.
Man, Oregon's doing cartwheels with their pod, and Coastal just kicked puppies.
No kidding.
Well, hey, how about Auburn, Florida in round 2? Or second weekend? Could be what we're looking at.
Chris Giggham says, can we take a moment to salute your formatting on the Google Doc? It's beautiful.
It's a spreadsheet, but hey, thank you.
All right, here comes Auburn. Auburn, the 4
Georgia
seed.
Tech, maybe?
Is this where Troy lands?
Central Connecticut is the 4 seed.
That's one of the worst 4s.
The Blue Devils.
Yep. They've got a logo that looks like Duke almost.
It does.
Which I always thought Duke's logo kind of looked like Coach K. Maybe it was just
Stetson. Stetson is the 3.
Okay. Could be a lot worse.
They won the controversial ASUN tournament due to a 7-hour rain delay.
Is Georgia Tech headed there?
NC State.
Ooh, okay. Our man Sam was trying to tell us last night that Georgia Tech's headed to Knoxville.
Oh, he could be right.
Jared,
Jay,
I kind of agree with you.
You got to be pumped with this.
Folks are saying feels like Auburn got a pretty good draw there.
Yeah, I think so too. No, I don't like getting Coastal of Florida the weekend after, but hey, you're at home.
Would they send Georgia Tech to Athens? Would they do that?
I wonder.
I think we're about to take a commercial break.
I'm guessing UCLA is going to be the 15th seed, which will be paired with Texas.
If you're Texas, you would like sign me up for that.
I wonder if Tennessee's getting the 14 with Arkansas.
Yeah, we're about to go.
I bet you that's what's going to happen. Let's see. All right, I'll take these guys. Georgia's still on the board, right?
Correct. We're in a commercial break. Jay, what do you think of where'd it go? Bob Williams. Auburn fans aren't used to getting anything good from the NCAA. Agree.
Well, I mean, if you're talking old school, Auburn got their knuckles rapped by the NCAA like every 4 years. But, I mean, in the heyday of Bobby Louder, we were cheating every 4 days. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was undeserved, but he's 100% right.
Hey, I give him credit for the way they handle Cam Newton. Like, we don't speak English. We don't know what you're talking about.
Then they suspend him the Thursday before the SEC championship game and reinstate him on Friday.
Yep.
Here's my guess. I'm guessing you're going to see UCLA in the 15. You're going to see maybe Georgia in the 7. LSU in the 6. One of those. It's going to be one of those.
Yeah,
two.
they've announced those.
Oh, they have? Who are those again? Okay,
LSU
sorry. I got behind. LSU 6. Okay.
Georgia 7.
Okay. Hold on. Georgia's the 7. Okay. Then who else?
FSU.
Oh, we don't.
You got the FSU.
We don't have Ole Miss, Clemson, Tennessee, LSU yet.
Yeah,
Tennessee, UCLA.
This is going to be coming back from the commercial break. Also, Quinn has another super chat.
Okay, UCLA is going to be your 15. I'm almost positive. I bet you Tennessee's your 14. That'll leave maybe Ole Miss as your 10 and Clemson as your 11.
Quinn, I think you should like the draw. I know Jay likes it. We're getting a lot of Florida State got hosed.
Well, let's look at that.
It's
Gosh, that is a.
It's a lot of red in that.
I mean, Bethune-Cookman isn't even as easy a 4 as I would have thought. I mean, we talked about Northeastern and Mississippi State being paired in the same regional if you couldn't make up your mind which was a 2 and a 3, and that's exactly what they did. So you knew somebody was going to get it, and I guess Florida State got it by virtue of proximity to Starkville.
Kendall Rogers just said that Texas A&M, they weren't even the next 4 out after the next 4. Brutal.
Yeah. Don't lose to Missouri.
3 times. Okay, we're back. Texas. Texas, the 2 seed.
Like Binghamton or North Dakota. My guess. White State's off the board.
The 4 seed is Houston Christian.
Okay. Yeah, that was predictable too, actually, because of geography.
The 3 seed is Kansas State.
Okay, I think that's an easier 3. Dallas Baptist hasn't gone anywhere, right?
I guess we could find out. Here comes the 2 seed in Austin.
Or is it UTSA? I bet it's UTSA.
It's UTSA, yeah. Which that's an at-large, so that's respect for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they didn't win their conference tournament?
Correct. But RPI had them in. So, okay, I don't have any teams I didn't think were getting in yet. Now, okay, here's the problem. If Kentucky is not going into UCLA, then Kentucky's not getting in. Because, it could go to Clemson too. That's the problem is Kentucky's only got 2 regionals it could go.
By the way,
I wonder if Tennessee gets Duke.
We got a lot of Texas fans in the chat. Y'all should feel happy. That is a super manageable regional. UCLA is
that good.
UCLA is the 15. So if an SEC is going out west, here we go.
Irvine will be the 2 there. Oh, Fresno State's the 4. Okay, that was predictable. Irvine will be the 2, I would almost bet, because they're 50 miles away.
Arizona State is the 3.
Okay. Oh, so that they got in. I had them as my first team out. That's not great if you're Kentucky. But we'll see.
UC Irvine is the 2.
So Irvine's gone. Who on my 2s? I've got somebody that I haven't crossed off here.
So we're looking at Kentucky and Oklahoma State bubble watch.
Yeah. I wonder if one of my 2s is a 3. We haven't put Creighton. I wonder if Creighton's going to Arkansas.
I feel like
Ole Miss the 10.
Ole Miss is the 10 seed.
So Kentucky won't be going there. Murray State. That's not an easy one. I heard Kendall Rogers say this morning they can hit a bit.
Their baseball team just did a football celebration. That was great.
55 DSR. That's steep for a 4.
Western Kentucky is the 3.
Okay. So they got an easier 3, but they're pretty good too.
So they won the Conference USA tournament.
Yep.
Which is why they got in.
So your 2 could be Georgia Tech, maybe?
Tech.
Wait.
It is Georgia Tech. And their reaction, they don't look happy at all. Like they're not clapping, nothing. They just said, "Oh, wow."
Yeah. Georgia Tech is what? I think they're a top 20 DSR team. They're 19. Yeah. Oh, that's a boy. Top to bottom. That might be the most competitive one yet. Look at this, guys.
The way the numbers shake out.
Uh-huh. And again, DSR is not something the committee uses, but I think it's a pretty good quality rating.
Okay, here comes Georgia. Georgia 7 seed.
Wake Forest or Duke, I bet. I can't remember if those teams are driving distance or not.
And if
Binghamton is the 4.
Okay.
If Tech topples Ole Miss, they could be going to Athens for the Super Regional.
Yeah, very true. Oklahoma State got in at 28 and 23. So if you're a Kentucky fan, you are sweating right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Although I had them in anyway. So Duke. Okay.
Duke, 2 seed.
Boy, that's not easy. It's not an easy 2, but the rest of the draw is pretty manageable.
They're showing Brian Curley highlights. So, boy, if Ole Miss makes it out, they would go to Athens. I don't like Georgia's just a different animal in Athens compared to on the road.
So we have one SEC on SEC pairing so far, and I think we're about to get Arkansas and Tennessee.
Here comes Baton Rouge.
Okay.
LSU, the 6th seed.
And that's going to be paired with Clemson, I'll bet you.
Little Rock is going to Baton Rouge. Whoa.
Okay, so that's the easiest.
surprise.
That's the easiest 4 in the field by DSR. That means they're probably about to stick them with Dallas Baptist,
who they played in the regular season.
or could be West Virginia.
Rhode Island is the 3.
That's an easy 3. Okay, so right now LSU's got a cake draw compared to what it could have been.
Not good Wi-Fi for the Rhode Island Rams.
No.
Super pixelated. And then Dallas Baptist is the 2 seed.
Okay, so they balanced it out with that.
That is
so Clemson's going to be your 11 and Tennessee your 14, I think, which means Clemson, LSU, and Arkansas, Tennessee are your supers.
Man, LSU fans got to be pumped.
I agree.
I think Dallas Baptist beat them in the regular season, but LSU didn't pitch anybody.
Yeah. LSU on the weekend
do.
is a very different animal. So I'm guessing Kansas is going to Arkansas.
Here's Clemson.
And either West Virginia or Wake's going to Tennessee.
Clemson is the 11.
Yep. So that means Tennessee's the 14.
4 seed in Clemson is South Carolina Upstate. Makes sense. Less than an hour down the road.
I bet you Miami of Ohio is going to Knoxville.
Kentucky got in. Whoa. They're the 3 seed in Clemson.
Yep.
And then West Virginia is a 2.
Cincinnati's going to Knoxville. And you know what they can do? They can run.
Uh-oh.
I bet you Tennessee's getting Cincinnati, Wake Forest, and Miami of Ohio.
And my bad, LSU did beat Dallas Baptist. I knew they played.
Kansas would be going. Kansas would be. I wonder if Arkansas gets Kansas and West Virginia.
No, West Virginia's just got sent to Clemson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry.
West Virginia's the 2 seed.
So Clemson. Kansas will be going to Arkansas. Wake will be going to Knoxville.
Here's
and Creighton will be going to Arkansas, and maybe Connecticut to Knoxville.
The Vols are the 14 seed.
Got to be Wake, right?
Miami of Ohio is the 4 seed.
I'm going to go ahead and put Wake in. I'll take them out if I need to. Which is not an easy 4. But that was easy to see because that was one of the few where Miami was drivable.
Cincinnati is the 3 seed.
Yep. Vandy and Knoxville were the only 2 places Cincinnati could go and drive. So now we're going to have Kansas.
Wake Forest is the 2.
Yep. So now we'll have Kansas to be going to Arkansas. And who have you got left? North Dakota State or Columbia?
Columbia is already Columbia's in.
Okay. Where did they go again? I've got it. Oh, that's right. Okay. So Connecticut, we're waiting to see if Connecticut, Virginia, Troy, Notre Dame, Xavier, that's your at large. And Creighton, I think, will be the 3 in Arkansas. I'm going to go ahead and put her on the board. I'll take it off if I'm wrong.
And I'll say it now, Virginia's a big one because if they don't get in, that's going to move quick with Mississippi State.
Oh, was Creighton going to be a 4 maybe? Surely not.
Here's they're doing the Fayetteville Regional. North Dakota State is going to Fayetteville.
Yep.
They are 12 games under 500.
Well, they're about to be
See if I got that
13
right.
games under 500.
Yeah.
Because Creighton's got to be in, and Kansas, so Connecticut's getting left out.
Creighton is the 3
Okay.
at 41-14. Remember, they just hired South Carolina's former coach. Kansas is the 2 seed.
Okay, so I had Connecticut as my last team and Arizona State as my first team out. And they flipped them. They gave Arizona State the bid and left Connecticut at home.
Well, damn it, Chris. You only got 63 of the 64.
Well, and that's not even the point. Here's the point. If you average – well, and it's not that hard. If you average RPI and KPI, they went straight down the line. Because Arizona State was a 41 and Connecticut was a 46.
So Virginia didn't make it.
Virginia didn't. If you had just averaged those two numbers and predicted the field, you would have nailed it, I think.
Guys, I'm telling you, that's about to get interesting. Keep all eyes in Charlottesville and Starkville. So now they're doing the thing. They're interviewing the chairman of the committee. If we want to listen to see what he says,
they absolutely went straight RPI. They literally took the top. How many ever at large bids you had? If you averaged RPI and KPI, that is exactly what they did. They went straight by numbers.
Mike Rapp is 100% right. 63 of 64. Chris Lee has a number 1 overall RPI.
Well, I don't think – well, it got a little harder. For a while, the larges weren't hard. And let's see. And that's what happened with UCLA, too. That's why UCLA got a host over Texas Christian. So all you had to do, throw out all the thinking that anybody did. Just look at the RPI and the KPI, average them, and
Chris,
that's exactly how they gave it.
Do you want the last 4 in, the last 4 out? Or first 4 out? First 4 out, Troy, Southeastern Louisiana, UConn, Virginia. Last 4 in, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, USC, Arizona State.
Okay, hold that thought. Could you have those again?
Which ones do you want?
Give me both. Give me the first 4 out first.
Southeastern Louisiana.
I'm sorry. Give me the first 4 in, and the last 4 in first. I'm sorry.
Arizona State.
Okay.
Kansas State. Oklahoma State. USC.
Okay, what order did they? That's exactly. Those were the last 4. Those were the last 4 teams if you average those 2 metrics.
There's no particular order.
Yeah, well,
and
those are
alphabetical.
Yeah, well, if you average RPI and KPI, those were the last 4 teams that would have been in. And the first 4 out were who?
Southeastern Louisiana.
Okay,
that's got to be tough because that's the chairman of the committee. That's their AD.
Okay.
Troy.
Okay.
UConn.
Okay.
Virginia.
Same thing, except Notre Dame would have been in that conversation, and Xavier too. Yeah. So they zagged a little bit there. But hey, I'm sure when you're head of the committee, and it would have been a stretch, but it would have been the worst thing ever, I guess, if they put Southeastern Louisiana in. It would have been a pretty good stretch, but hats off for integrity here.
And by the way,
Troy ranked for
they were at one
chunk
point
of the part of the season.
So Jay, they were 19th in the country. They got swept to close the regular season by Southern Miss, and then Southern Miss beat them again in the tournament.
Man,
so they lost 1 series all season, and they don't make the tournament. And I saw my wife Brittany isn't here. Brittany, you know why that's a big deal. O'Connor, Virginia, Start Vegas.
Hey, you guys carry on. I'm going to go get something to drink before I lose my voice.
Color me surprised that Troy's out. I mean, because it'd been one thing if you'd have said they got hammered 4 in a row to a conference foe who's not in the tournament. Southern Miss is a top 16 seed.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff. And while he's not here to deflect, dude, Chris Lee is on this like few others.
He is, like you said, he only got 63 out of 64.
I mean, and he's starting to kibble some of the bits about why he didn't go perfect.
This is a long interview with the chairman of the committee. I give him props. He didn't put Southeastern Louisiana in there. He didn't pull a North Carolina AD putting the Tar Heels in the basketball tournament.
But if you are on the committee, never mind the head of the committee, was that Bubba Cunningham?
Yeah, at UNC. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't return to the Tar Heel State and explain away how UNC didn't
Very true.
The damn.
Very true. You're telling me life is a little different in Hammond, Louisiana than Chapel Hill, North Carolina?
Yeah. Yeah. Chris, you're getting your much deserved flowers in the chat, my man. While you were going to get a cocktail, we were singing your praises.
Well, thank you. I did put some time into it. Thank you, Josh. Not happy about it being across from Knoxville. Yeah, I don't think anybody would be happy about that.
And plus, they just played each other too, right?
Rewind the last 2 days. You could have had a 3-14 Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Like, Vanderbilt snuck in that 1 seed at the very last minute.
Yeah. And again, I don't know how it's possible, but to be the number 1 overall seed, I really do feel like they're flying under the radar. You know?
Yeah.
Like nobody at any point was anybody saying Vandy is 1-1.
You know what they did in the tournament that I think tipped their hand? And it makes me feel better about their chances. One, I think Thompson has pitched really well and he's been lights out at home. Number 2, Bowker is a guy that can be tremendous for 4 to 5 innings, but when he loses it, it goes quickly. They made a pivot in Hoover to take Fennell out of the 3, which I guess they already did last weekend, and just say, hey, because their stuff is really different. Bowker's more of a power guy, and Fennell is just a unicorn. And they're like, all right, we're gonna tandem these 2 guys and get through a game. And your looks are going to be way different, and they both have the durability to cover it. Bowker's great for about 4 innings and maybe 5 on a good day, and Fennell can go the rest. So then you're to Sunday, and they threw Nye, who is a first-round talent. He'll be a first-rounder 2 years from now if he stays healthy, I think. And then you got all those guys left. I mean, you might need to go to Hawks to finish up for Thompson, but they got Guth, they've got Huseman, they got so many arms. They're going to have arms parked in the garage at the end of a regional that would pitch in any other regional. And I think them making that little pivot, I still want to say LSU's the team to beat, and Arkansas is going to be in there too, I think. And don't forget Texas. It didn't end well, but I think Texas still got the parts. But I'm more, after having slept on it and thought through how they're doing the pitching, they might be the team to beat because they get their own ballpark, which fits their style, and then they get Omaha, which could not fit them any better.
By the way, I like Mike Rapp's comment when you say I did put some time into it. Understatement of the century.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh has got a pretty interesting comment in the chat. It says 2 of the 3 best odds to win a natty are Arkansas and Tennessee, and one is guaranteed not to make it. Nasty work by the committee. Now, just to be fair, though, not only are they not looking at the odds are not based on the analytics. The odds are constructed so that the Vegas books are maximizing leverage, and they know that a lot of people are going to bet on Arkansas and Tennessee. Now, it's still a mother of a super regional if the 1 seeds hold, but it's not exactly apples to apples in terms of crunching numbers.
What are y'all's takeaways? So, like, who do you think has the more challenging regional versus the polar opposite? Who do you think has a cakewalk?
Okay, let's go super by super matchup. We'll start with Vanderbilt and Southern. The 1 overall could have gotten a much easier draw than what Vanderbilt got, but I think it's certainly manageable. Louisville did beat them midweek, but I think that's a different ball game. I think Vanderbilt will get through that. I need to look into East Tennessee State a little bit more. I know they had a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
So you might rather see Louisville in game 2 if you're Vandy.
Well, East Tennessee State, like, they hit an insane. I think like the first month and a half, like they had like 70, 80 home runs. Now it cooled off a little bit, but they're still up there in home runs.
Yeah. I don't think Southern Miss, Alabama, Vandy again at Nashville. We saw how that played out once.
That's a tough draw
to get through.
Southern Miss.
Yeah. It is.
But you're the 16. You're supposed to have a rocky draw.
Yeah.
I think you could probably crunch numbers, Chris, and say even though Texas has a 2 by its name, he got an easier draw than Vandy did.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And
I think Texas' draw.
LSU.
Yeah.
Now, we got some closet Dallas Baptist fans in the chat, but LSU ain't wanting to trade anybody their draw either.
To me, LSU and Texas, you got to be over the moon.
Right.
Because Texas also got UCLA in the super regional.
Texas may have got the easiest pairing of anybody. Okay, let's look at the next one. Oregon State. Again, I thought 8 was a gift for Oregon State, but it did get one of the tougher 2s. Southern Cal's beaten some teams, and St. Mary's is a good 4. So I guess they even that out a little bit. Florida State, my goodness. Yeah, that's a brutal draw. And then you got to go on the road, presuming chalk holds there.
Across the country, right?
Yeah. Northeastern Mississippi State will be your best 2-3 game of the tournament, I bet. Georgia Duke, you're not crazy about that if you're Georgia. Duke can really hit. And Ole Miss Georgia, that regional too, that might be the most balanced one out there.
I know we got Ole Miss fans in here. Like, don't get PTSD from 2009 Western Kentucky. Remember, Ole Miss had to beat Western Kentucky like super late in that regional. Drew Pomerantz had to start on like 2 days rest, and he had like double-digit strikeouts.
I'm going to look at some stuff here. Hang on, let me go back. I'm going to see if I missed anything. Well, no, I'll just go from here.
Coastal Carolina, that's a tough draw too, by the way.
Yeah, Coastal can really pitch. Really, really pitch.
Which is the polar opposite of what that league has been.
Yep. And it plays in a hitter's park too. So I never like having a team that can pitch the way they do. Okay, tell me what we've got on the table next.
What do you mean?
Just give me a regional to talk about.
You want to dive into Clemson since they got 2 Power 4 teams in?
Yeah, let's see.
They got
Sorry,
West
I've got
Virginia
so
and
much stuff on
Kentucky.
my desktop open. It takes me a minute to get to everything. Okay, where's Clemson?
Bottom right.
I'm more scared of Kentucky for Clemson than I'm West Virginia.
Yeah. West Virginia has an awful record against quad 1 teams.
Walks a lot of guys. Gives up a lot of home runs. That sounds like a bad recipe in Clemson.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kentucky's got the bullpen to get to the finish with Clemson, but I think Kentucky can be the last team standing not named Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Other
Somebody
easy
asked
ones
earlier about the possibility of how many SEC teams and could it be all 8? Well, the committee matched up 5 and 12 is the only SEC team in those 2 pods is Oklahoma as a 2 going to Chapel Hill.
Okay, I'm going to give you something interesting in Knoxville because I'm looking for styles here. Wake Forest stole 51 bases, got called a dozen times. Cincinnati stole 127 bases, got called 14 times.
Jeez.
So if they play Tennessee, that is going to be a track meet.
Don't put Phillips on the mound for that game.
Nope. And I don't know much about the 4s yet. I know Miami was considered one of the better 4s, but I don't know if they've got like an ace. I'm going to look that one up. You guys talk while I do this.
Cincinnati, I looked it up. That Cincinnati, they're 18th in the country in stolen bases.
I don't know how there could be 17 teams that stole more bases than that.
Northeastern has 192 stolen bases.
I'm telling you, that's going to be a nightmare for Mississippi State. Don't you think?
Yeah. Especially State, they split their catchers. Like, they don't have one guy. They rotate their catchers.
I'll tell you, we've got a lot of ground to cover. If you want us to talk about one question or thing in particular, and I hate to be this way, we just got a lot to get. Leave me a super chat, and I'll hit it. How's that?
Yeah, any regional, any game.
Yeah.
Looking forward to.
I may have to do a little research on the fly, but I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Or if you want us to dive into potential super regionals.
I know geography had a lot to do with it, but Ole Miss got a little bit hosed to be a 10 when you look at the 2 West Coast pods at 12 and 15, in my opinion.
That's a really balanced regional that Ole Miss got.
Yeah. Tech's one of your better 2s. Western Kentucky's better than their directional nomenclature. And, I mean, Murray State, they're the racers, by golly.
Which is new. They used to be the thoroughbreds. They recently changed it to the racers. They were the racers in everything but baseball. Fun fact. I don't know. Like, how good is Western Kentucky really? Like, they wouldn't be in this thing if they didn't win the conference tournament.
They were close. They would have been close.
The candidates are Dallas Baptist. Well, the only Conference USA teams are Dallas Baptist and them, correct?
Yes.
But
I want to say they took the series from Dallas Baptist, but you'd have to look that one up.
What were you saying, Jay?
Well, by comps, if you're UCLA, you're tickled that they just said Arizona State was one of the last 4 in, and you got them as a 3 as the 15 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, looking at Miami of Ohio, they can hit it a bit. They only stole 44 bases, so you like that if you're Tennessee. Their pitching bleeds a little bit, it appears. Not a strikeout staff, more of a put it in play. And that's fly ball staff. So I think that's a good matchup for Tennessee in game 1.
I kind of feel I've got information overload.
Well, yeah, it's a lot at once. Apparently, ESPN is talking a lot about Georgia Tech. Remember, they won the ACC regular season. They're interviewing Georgia Tech's head coach right now.
Okay, what next? Anyone you want me to take a dive into?
Do you want to talk about a hard regional or easy regional? I think Oregon got it. I think Oregon got a gift.
I do too. And are we just to assume that Alabama is now the committee's top ranked too, since they're going to Hattiesburg?
Maybe it's proximate.
So, like, if you're Georgia Tech, like, would you rather go to Oxford or host? You know, because maybe since their AD was on the committee for Southern Miss, they host, but they get a more challenging regional. And then Georgia Tech has to go on the road.
Taylor asked in the super chat that we break down LSU's regional.
Okay. Here's what I got. And this is just quick analysis. Dallas Baptist, pretty offensive team, plays an offensive park, so that helps. 97 home runs, stole 103 bases, caught 18 times, so versatile. Pitching, they give up a lot of runners. They have a decent strikeout rate, and they have trouble keeping the ball in the park. And who's else is in that regional?
The LSU one?
Yeah.
Rhode Island and Little Rock.
I don't have those yet.
So I can tell you, Little Rock is going to start a guy named Jackson Wells. 2 years ago, he was the OVC Pitcher of the Year, and he had the best ERA in the country. He beat a guy named Paul Skeens. Obviously, it's a different league, but that's more than likely who Little Rock is going to pitch in game 1 against LSU.
Let me look up Rhode Island for a minute. Give me a minute if you guys can stall.
Okay. Getting more questions that will. And Ben, I see your question. Ben has a super chat for what are the College World Series matchup off of the Supers. So we'll dive into that too after we discuss LSU. We're doing LSU first because Taylor also had a super chat. What's our take on the LSU regional? So, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're all going to pick LSU to win, and we will dive into all the regionals, and we'll make videos for every regional and what we think is going to happen. But I kind of think all of us, counting Alfred, we're very, very high on LSU.
Okay, we agreed to do Rhode Island, didn't we? Because they're in LSU.
Yeah, Dallas Baptist, Rhode Island, Little Rock.
Okay, hang on a minute. Let me look at Rhode Island for a minute, and I'll let you guys stall. This is the part where you're allowed to stall.
This is the part
I'm
where
trying
we're allowed to stall. Jay's typing in. He's responding to somebody.
And to the question, I do not know much about Shreveport. I bet Graham can answer more than that about Shreveport than I can.
About Shreveport?
Yeah,
I've been there a decent amount. I've done a couple of Independence Bowls there. The last game of Daniel Jones's college career was in Shreveport, Louisiana, against the Temple Owls, and I was there doing it.
That'd be the football Daniel Jones, the one that went to Duke?
Correct.
Okay.
The one, I think he's in Minnesota now. I think he's a Viking. Not positive.
Sounds right.
Curveball. They're switching to football.
So Hunter Johnson, Steve Robertson, that's a Mississippi State beat reporter, had a report this morning saying Virginia's trying to keep O'Connor. I bet they are.
You think?
If you are the random Rhode Island fan planning to drive from South Kingston, Rhode Island to Red Stick, that's going to take you 22 hours, almost 23 hours. It's 1,500 plus miles.
So you're saying fly to New Orleans and then drive over?
I think that's about the only way you're going to get there and still make first pitch.
Got to be a small list of Rhode Island fans, right?
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that one's going to be – there'll be a smattering of Dallas Baptist fans, but that one's going to be a whole lot of purple.
Big time. Big time. I am happy for Little Rock. This is only their second time ever to make the regional, so I just did their conference tournament. Again, they were the last team to make the Ohio Valley Conference tournament. They had 19 wins, and they go undefeated in the conference tournament. So very happy for Coach Curry and his staff. He's a former SEC guy, played at Mississippi State under Ron Polk. He was on staff under Van Horn at Arkansas. 11 years now as the head coach at Little Rock. So congratulations to him.
Okay. Getting to Rhode Island. Stall a few more minutes for me.
Well, good luck getting to Rhode Island. Ain't no easy way in there.
You must be diving really deep on Rhode Island.
What was the bad Jim Carrey movie? There was Rhode Island.
That's a big team picture, brother.
Me, Myself, and Irene.
That's the one. Yeah. I quit watching that one a few minutes in. That was just weird. But I think that was in Rhode Island, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. He was a Rhode Island state trooper. Only thing I know about Rhode Island, the Ole Miss women's basketball coach, that's where she played.
I've been briefly to Providence. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I've been to Providence. That's it. Caleb Falk, I don't know if Little Rock has the arms LSU has. They 1,000,000% don't.
Caleb, I'm gonna guess you're right on that.
Yeah,
just gonna throw that out there.
They definitely don't. I was just telling you who Little Rock was going to start game one.
All right, hang on, and I'll let you know everything you need to know about the Rhode Island Rams in 30 seconds.
Little Rock did beat Ole Miss in the midweek. It was the Kids Day game at 11 a.m. and that was in a stretch where Little Rock had everybody healthy, and they won 8 games in a row. And then after that, Little Rock went they lost 9 of 10 down the stretch. So, I mean, again, I'm happy for Little Rock that they're going back to this for the second time ever. But if LSU can't get past Little Rock, you got major problems.
That's an interesting point someone just threw out about how JJ pitched Skeens in game one. So are we expecting Cade Anderson? I mean, when you've got that 1 through 3, I mean, yeah, Cade Anderson may have had a better year. I just don't know if he's got better stuff than Ianson or I mean, any of his starters.
Josh makes an interesting point. The state of Tennessee has produced the last 3 number 1 overall seeds.
Wow. Okay, your Rhode Island Rams.
Definitely not Memphis. Give us the info on the Rams.
The Rams hit a little bit. They had 85 home runs. They stole 125 bases. Also got caught 38 times. They don't strike out a bunch. They walk a lot. And they pitch. Well, there's a line from Major League that comes to mind, but probably not suitable for the broadcast here. Yeah, not an overpowering staff. Do they have a dude? Who's the? Oh, wait, you're talking about Little Rock, the head pitcher. Yeah, they don't. I don't see a dude Had some guys with good
Jacksonville.
ERAs. I think they some of their main guys do keep the ball on the ground a little bit, but they've got two starters who look like they were pretty good, and after that, the bottom falls out. So I'm guessing you'll see Cooper Katsky or Carson Byers if you get Rhode Island in a winner's game. They're pretty good, for whatever they faced. Katsky keeps the ball in the park. Byers does not. You want to back out of the regionals and kind of big picture it again?
Yeah, we can. Somebody gave us a super chat asking us super regional matchups to the College World Series. What are the College World Series matchups off of the supers? That was a super chat.
Okay, let's do these one by one. Who comes out of Vanderbilt and Southern Miss?
Vandy.
And Bama.
You think Bama's gonna? Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying Bama's going to beat Vandy, but if we're instant reaction picking the Omaha 8 matchups to see who gets in the super regionals, I'll take Vandy hosting Alabama in the 116 pods.
Let me see if Miami's got an ace, because Alabama was good for one win against the big teams, but getting that second one was the issue. Like, they got 1 out of 3 a lot of times in the league this year. But getting wins 2 and 3 were a little problematic for them. So I don't think Miami's pitching is very good from what I remember.
Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up too.
It's also a strange kind of existence in terms of the laundry factor of Miami, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, and Mississippi State all being 3 seeds.
Yeah.
I reserve the right to change my mind as I look into this, but I'm kind of thinking we get Vanderbilt, Alabama rematched in Nashville, which was a dandy of a series the first time. I mean, Alabama was right there ready to sweep, and then the bottom caved out of the bullpen.
I think in the 215, I think Texas run rules everybody in the Austin regional.
Yes.
And I think UC Irvine gets out of UCLA's regional.
I would need to look into that a little bit more, but it feels like Texas got the easiest of the regional and the super regional pairings.
To me, it doesn't matter. I'm taking Texas to Omaha.
Absolutely.
Okay, this Oregon State cluster over here.
That's top left, right?
Yeah.
All right, so do you buy TCU?
I mean, I feel like TCU and Oregon State are a pretty even match. Let me see what TCU's got like in a game 2 situation. Okay. TCU's got an ace, Tommy Lepore. I presume he's your game 1. And they're respectable in the 2 and 3. Brassfield and Sloan. Bullpen, looking at this, not outstanding. I mean, okay, not bad. And then Oregon State. Oregon State does have a top 5, top 10 guy in Arquette, who's an infielder for them.
By the way, Josh with a super chat. He says he would be really surprised if Vandy isn't playing for the championship.
Yeah, I think Oregon State's got the pitching depth to come out of that one. And then face Florida State, where you get Jamie Arnold throwing in Corvallis.
Oh man.
I think Florida State's regional might be the toughest to pick.
Yeah, it is. I'm leaning Oregon State just because they're at home.
They'll go Arnold one. I don't know if Mendez or Vellini is their number 2. Probably Vellini. Boy, that one's – I'm going to give it – Oregon State's just I don't know how many teams have gotten out of Oregon State.
Auburn.
In a super. Did Auburn do it?
Auburn
was that
did
the
Sonny D?
Was that the DeShera year? Okay, well there you go. I'm leaning Florida State. Okay, so now we've got Georgia Duke. Let me double check this. I watched Duke hit the other day. Those guys sting the baseball. So you better pack all your pitching.
I'm taking Georgia because it's in Athens.
Well, and I think that's the right answer too. Duke hit 99 home runs. Looks like it pitches about the way Georgia does. Duke gives up a lot of home runs too. I'm liking Georgia there.
Yep.
Let's see.
And then I think we'll have SEC, Georgia, Ole Miss, and the Supers.
They didn't play regular season, did they?
Correct.
Can Ole Miss hold them down in Athens? Well, first of all, Ole Miss has got to get out of Oxford.
It's $1 million question, but if you buy the bullpen, the Ole Miss bullpen was sensational in Hoover.
Right.
And against Auburn to wrap up the regular season.
Yeah, problem is Foley Field and Hoover are two extremely different venues. But Ole Miss can play the long ball game too pretty well.
So Georgia leads the country in home runs. Ole Miss is top 8. So
I do like the way Ole Miss develops some bullpen depth. I kind of feel like I trust their next arms better than I trust Georgia's right now. But man, that field has been kryptonite for just about everybody.
The Ole Miss bullpen only gave up 2 runs in Hoover all week.
Yeah,
2.
Who beat Georgia at home this year? I'm gonna look that one up.
It happened kind of late.
It did. Was it A&M?
I think they got one.
It was A&M. They got one. Alabama, let's see. Okay, Alabama beat them twice, but that was in Alabama. They swept Auburn, took 2 or 3 against Kentucky, took 2 or 3 against Arkansas, 2 or 3 against Oklahoma. So they won every home series.
By the way, either way, it's going to be interesting for Georgia because you're either going to get SEC versus SEC Supers or you're going to get Georgia Tech.
Yeah. I think, feels like Georgia to me there. Here's one thing. I wonder if Northeastern could go into Tallahassee and win that thing. Or Mississippi State for that matter.
I would have more confidence in State just because they're way, way more battle tested than Northeastern.
Yeah. But the problem is you're going to face a Northeastern team in game 1 that's going to run.
And State is, I don't know. Do you count on their defense to handle that?
I don't know. I mean
to play somebody that has stolen 192 stolen bases that's a video game number.
Yeah. Let's see.
Josh asked a question about if Oklahoma could afford to hold Kyson Witherspoon for UNC.
No.
Because I was thinking this. I mean, can Mississippi State hold Pico and not go against Northeastern?
No, you can't.
I think I concur with that, but
I agree with Sam Rogers. There's just so many unknowns about Northeastern. They're like a wild card.
That whole region's a wild card.
It's I not
presume.
like
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not like any of us are dialed into Northeastern.
No.
I couldn't name one player on the team, but the fact that they make the tournament as a 2 seed in Tallahassee is pretty impressive.
I think the two biggest SEC wild cards are Mississippi State and Tennessee. Like, I could see any outcome for either of those.
Well, I trust Tennessee way more than Mississippi State.
Right, and I do too. But, man, you've got to go to Arkansas if you get out of there. Presuming Arkansas gets out of Fayetteville, which I think it will.
Well, yeah. Would you trust Mississippi State and Corvallis?
I don't know. I mean, when they played really well, they're capable of beating a lot of teams.
Again, the thing with Mississippi State, it's two things. Their schedule got way easier down the stretch, and then they did start to play better.
Right.
I mean, I think if Lamonis is still there, they don't sweep Kentucky at home. They were always going to beat Missouri, and then they beaten Ole Miss like 9 of the last 10 series. So they always beat Ole Miss.
Yeah. What do we think about Ole Miss getting out of Oxford?
I think it's going to be tough. I think Tech's going to be riled. I mean, it's impossible to deny how great they were last week in Hoover. I mean, it's like they almost completely switched their style. It's like when they tried to teach Rocky how to fight right-handed, and then when it got down to the get down, Mickey tried to switch him back, and he said no. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
The bullpen was great. The huge ballpark. But Tech's good.
I'm not really worried about the Murray State matchup for Ole Miss, because if you can't beat Murray State, what are the odds that you're going to make it out of your regional?
Well, it's not always winning that game. It's like, do you face a team that can tax your pitching and make you throw guys on late innings to hold on or to try to win that you didn't plan, that you were saving for that game too? And that's the problem with the tough four.
So, like, for me, what's Georgia Tech's number 2 look like? Because Riley Maddox has had a good 3-week stretch here for Ole Miss. So, do you trust Riley Maddox, or do you trust whoever Georgia Tech is going out there with their game 2 starter?
You don't think Ole Miss is going to pitch Hunter Elliott against Murray State, do you?
Jay, Mike has only done that twice in his career at Ole Miss, where he has not
Murray State can hit.
Where he has not pitched the ace. He's only done that twice.
Who was I looking up? Oh, Georgia Tech. Sorry.
They're number 2.
They've got Mason Patel. He's got the best ERA of their starters. He's got a 2.74. Doesn't allow a lot of base runners. Really good home run rate. Doesn't walk guys or hit guys for the most part. I don't know if he's their 1, 2, or 3's third innings pitched. And they got a dude, looks like out of the bullpen. And Jalen Payton, who's pretty good. I mean, the 3 starters were okay. They got 1 reliever, and the rest of the staff is pretty mediocre.
Mm-hmm. And Ole Miss is trending now where the bullpen has been a bright spot. I would say the last 2.5 weeks. Guys, like, I'm taking Ole Miss. I mean, I'll tell everybody right now, like when I say the atmosphere is going to be electric, like it's going to be electric. It's going to be the best that Georgia Tech has played in this season. So a part of it is going to be how they handle that emotionally. And like this is it for them. So like that can be kind of scary. Like their coach, long career, tons of success. Like, is that going to be a benefit for them? Like, are they going to be like, all right, we know this is it no matter what? Burn the ships, that kind of a thing.
Okay, who do we need next?
Well, hold on. So Allen says Ole Miss has an easier regional than Arkansas. Who was in Arkansas's?
Well, Arkansas got the. See, I don't Kansas and Arkansas's got Kansas and Creighton. But it's also got an easy 4 in North Dakota State. So I don't agree. I think Ole Miss got a tougher draw.
And as well they should. Arkansas is a 3.
Alan, I was in the building when Tennessee Tech beat Ole Miss. So, yes, I witnessed it firsthand. I was there. I talked to Coach Bragg at Tennessee Tech about that all the time. By the way, that Tech team has 3 big leaguers on it. Nobody talks about that.
Tennessee Tech? Are you kidding me?
Like
who's in the big leagues from it?
Cups
okay,
of coffee.
I didn't.
Not like this guy's an everyday all-star type guy, but still.
Okay. Murray State scored 451 runs this year, hit 301 as a team. Not a big power hitting team. I don't know what the ballpark situation is there. They had 65 home runs. So, yeah, maybe not as bad. I'll dig into that one a little bit more.
They just interviewed Van Horn on ESPN. I thought this was going to be 30 minutes for ESPN. They're going over an hour.
By the way, I think the committee did a pretty good job.
I do too.
I mean, there's a few regionals that I'm like, okay, they, Coastal could have had an easier path. Ole Miss could have had an easier path. Texas could have had a tougher path. But there's nothing that just jumps out as incompetence here. We talked about Auburn earlier, didn't we? It's all running together now.
Yeah, they did want us to touch on Auburn, so go, Jay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's hard for me not to like that draw. It's a very beatable 4, and I mean most 4s are, but Central Connecticut shouldn't scare anybody. Again, I would have to believe they're having a conversation on do you pitch Dutton in game 1 in that situation, or do you leverage it for the winner's bracket final of whoever survives NC State Stetson?
I think that is one where if you're Auburn, you can pull that move. Like I have the utmost confidence that they're beating Central Connecticut no matter what. Just their offense is just too good.
And it'll be 99% Auburn folks in the building. And I mean, even with relying on that many freshmen, I mean, that's the way you win these tournaments, especially if you don't have LSU's rotation.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I think we all like Auburn in their regional. Who are they paired up with in the Supers?
Auburn is the 4 they would get the Coastal Carolina, Florida winner.
Did Auburn and Florida play?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either.
I'm still leaning Auburn in that one. I'm leaning Auburn in that one.
I could make a case for a few teams to come out of that bunch.
I know East Carolina is insanely hot. Like they won their conference tournament. Cliff Godwin is a phenomenal coach. But I just think, to me, the difference between everybody in the Auburn regional and the Coastal Carolina regional is Auburn's offense is elite.
Yeah.
And they have one dude. They have Dutton.
Seeing Florida in the Super would make me super nervous, though, the way those guys are playing.
No doubt. Chris, you read my thought bubble. I was sitting here as an Auburn graduate thinking, I hope it's Coastal that comes out of that and heads to Plainsman Park.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and here's the other thing, too, guys. People were talking about NC State as an Omaha team not long ago. The same can be said of Auburn, Coastal, and Florida. Not often you see 4 teams out of an 8-team pairing there where you can say that about 4 teams, but I think you might.
To me, like NC State, they're either like insanely hot, like they're so hot they just go to Omaha, or they just like, they're one and done. Like there is no middle ground with them.
Mac, that's fair. Dutton has been we've talked about it, and maybe it's the insane number of innings he's racked up. I don't know if he's getting tired. I think this last week off, or a good chunk of this past week off, will help. But no, he is starting to get hit a little bit down the stretch.
Now, I'm going to bring something up, okay, with Tennessee. Do you wait and see what happens in game 1 before you make your pitching decision on who you go with? Because let's say Cincinnati wins that thing, and you've been pitching Doyle out of your 1. If you throw Marcus Phillips against Cincinnati, again, they stole, 130 bases, something like that?
I think Marcus
if Cincinnati
Phillips
were to win that first one, maybe so.
Josh said it in the chat a while ago. He had the Tennessee rotation.
What did he say?
I can't remember what he said they were going to do with Phillips, but
okay.
he did put it out there.
Josh, if you've got it, throw it up again. We've had a ton of comments.
And Quinn, you're 100% right. And that place is – I'm doing everything in my power to try to wrangle some tickets down there this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be packed. Jay, you could probably get credentials, my man.
Yeah, but I'm 99% certain I'm going to be standing there watching a blonde-haired ponytail 14-year-old pitch softball.
Yeah. What do y'all make of this? Roderick Anderson, 66% of home teams win the first weekend. That's according to ESPN. That means 5 to 6 upsets. Wonder who. And then Josh just puts the rotation in the chat right now. Okay. Phillips, Doyle, Russell.
That makes a ton of sense.
That's what I do too. Quinn, thank you for your generous super chat. As always, you are very tough to beat at Plainsman. Frankly, you're tough to beat anywhere. You won in Knoxville. I think you won. I want to say Auburn got another road series somewhere too.
It wasn't in Texas or in Athens.
I would feel a little better about them had Dutton finished stronger. Good grief, Quinn. Thank you. Tilly Friday, Dutton Saturday.
I completely agree with that, Quinn.
That's what I would do.
Isn't that what they did the last weekend or two?
They did it. Really can give you as many innings as possible, and your offense puts up several crooked numbers so that you're not taxing a bullpen.
Yeah, well, and you can probably throw the lower half of your bullpen, and you've got a lot of guys who are serviceable options who pitched before without getting to your dudes if you do that. And Tilly's good enough to give you 4, 5, 6 good innings, which at that point, assuming they take care of business, you just need somebody to eat your innings. And remember, no run rules in the regionals too, by the way.
All right, to the question of if only 66% of the top seeds advance, if you've got to pick 5 upsets, the ones I just went through and marked, the Tallahassee regional because it's just filled with unknowns. I'm not a big believer in Oregon.
Ole Miss would be a candidate.
Ole Miss is a candidate, but the Vegas part of me thinks Florida should be favored over Coastal Carolina because of its pitching depth.
Mm-hmm.
And 15 and 16 are coin flips, brother.
And what's
UCLA,
the Clemson streak?
What's that?
What's the Clemson streak? They haven't made it out of a regional in 15 years or whatever it is.
Is that
if you're Kentucky, you went from holding your breath so long that your cheeks turned blue to now trying to figure out how to get down there because you could win that thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm pulling this up for Clemson. Monty Lee never went to a Super. Jeez, I didn't realize it was that long.
I think Alabama could pull an upset and get out of Southern Miss.
So do I.
Clemson went to the Supers last year.
Okay. That's right.
So
and played Florida.
One time in like 18 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who was there before Monty Lee?
Would that have been?
Was it the legend?
Leggett? I think so. Or was there one in between? He's been gone a minute now.
I'm pulling it up. He retired in 2015. The last time Clemson made it to Omaha was 2010. Was that Parker? Is that when they had Parker?
I think so.
Also, another candidate to not make it out of the regional, Southern Miss.
Yep.
Yeah, Josh has a good list. Ole Miss, Southern Miss, Oregon State, Oregon Coastal, and for some reason he's got Auburn. I don't agree with the Auburn part, but the other ones I can see.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, again, I think the committee did a pretty good job. I don't see a lot of just goofs here. There's some that clearly got tougher draws than others, but I didn't have a beef with who they put in and left out. I think for the most part, they did an okay job of balancing the regionals. The chair resisted whatever temptation to put his own team in. I mean, I give these guys an A.
Yeah, I would too, especially what you just said. The fact that he didn't put Southeastern Louisiana in. I mean, he could have sent them to Baton Rouge.
All right. In quite possibly the most sneaky humble brag of all time, Chris Lee just gave the committee an A, and we now need to remind everyone that he got 63 of the 64 right. So he, in turn, is giving himself an A.
I don't think it was that hard. You just had to do the work.
Hey, 90% of success is showing up, brother.
Yeah. Hey, Quinn, thank you again. Dutton will have had 2 weeks off. That's probably going to help. And Tennessee on upset alert.
Well, that's him responding.
Right.
That's him responding to Josh.
Okay.
Jim Bryan Logan, like no Ole Miss hate. We just got asked who are candidates that could not make it out of a regional.
No, Graham already picked Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm picking Ole Miss. I'm telling you that right now.
But
and I think I will too.
I think it's fair. I mean, we've been doing this now so long, I'm gonna need to shave again. But it is fair to point out Georgia Tech's got like a 30-year head coach that's beloved. And he's announced this is it. I mean, they're going to fire every bullet for that guy in Oxford. And, Josh, that's fair. I mean, NC State does find ways to overachieve in the tournament. That's completely fair.
Coach has been there forever.
Yeah, since the 90s, the mid 90s. Like he coached no more Garcia Parra. Like it's been that long.
Oh gosh, I had a thought and I've lost it. I've had a lot of thoughts.
Hunter Johnson. When's the last time Ole Miss won a home regional? That's a good question.
I know what I was going to say. I think Ole Miss might be a sneaky Omaha pick because I think they can do what Georgia does in that park. And I feel like I trust their 5 or 6 best arms better than I do Georgia's. Georgia could pitch 15 guys in a weekend and mix and match, but Mason Morris and that bunch, I mean, I think, yeah.
It's not only Morris. Like, you've had other guys step up too, you know. Like, Townsend stepped up. Hooks started, yesterday against Vandy? My days are all out of whack.
Right.
So, yeah, both of those teams are similar offensively, but I'm taking Ole Miss pitching-wise over Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ole Miss's bullpen the last few weeks was a sneaky undercovered story in SEC baseball.
Yeah. Again, the bullpen gave up 2 runs in Hoover.
What's the status of their third starter?
So Mason Nichols, I guess we won't know until some point today or when Mike talks to media. But like he didn't dress at all in Hoover. Yeah. So I kind of think we'll do test results, all that, and see how it looks. I didn't know when you have an oblique strain, they do it like they go towards your belly button or towards your back. Like it's an interior tear and an exterior tear. I didn't know there was a difference. And one is worse than the other. Whichever one is worse, his is not that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wouldn't think either would be conducive to pitching. Or much of anything for that matter. But
the good news for Ole Miss, like you got to see the future, like Townsend. Like that guy's going to be a Friday night starter sooner rather than later. So like with the run in Hoover, you got to see a lot of the talented arms that Ole Miss will have for the future. And they'll need those guys if they want to make a run the next few weeks.
I feel like most years I have a pretty good feel of what's going to happen. And last year, I remember when the thing came out, I was like, okay, I think it's A&M and Tennessee on a collision course for the title. I think A&M's going to win. And I think I had a shot at that coming right until they had Montgomery go down and had a key reliever go down too. And it was a anybody's ball game at the end, and Tennessee won. I don't feel like I've got that kind of clarity this year.
Yeah, I do think it's wide open, which makes it fun. Don't
you,
Jay? Don't you think it's wide open?
I do, but I also, I mean, boy, oh boy, the top 3 are just balanced and loaded. And Texas, I mean, I think Texas got the best draw of any of the 16 national seeds, especially adding in the regional and prospective super regional. Because nobody in UCLA scares me at all if I'm Slosh.
Yeah, Clemson and LSU are paired.
Yeah.
Hey, how about this? What if we get a super regional rematch of 3 years ago? Kentucky comes out of Clemson and goes to Baton Rouge. I'm
taking LSU.
Big.
Yeah, well, I think I'm taking LSU about just about anybody in that ballpark in the postseason.
I don't know if we've touched on it, but and we did touch on the rotation, which is going to help if they don't sleep on Wake. They've got 2 of the top 23 draft prospects in the country.
Who's that, Wake Forest?
Yeah.
But Jay, they had
shortstops 15, Merrick Houston.
Jay, they had 3 top 15 picks this past season. and they didn't do anything.
Couldn't get
And
out
the right
of
fielder
Greenville.
is 25th.
I mean, they're a good program. Like, he's a good coach. Like, he certainly built that from scratch. But I mean, if they couldn't do anything last year with all that talent, are you gonna buy him this year?
Completely fair, Graham. Completely fair. And I'm really not buying anybody in Knoxville either. I mean, that place is going to be a zoo.
But yeah, the home field has not worked in their favor lately, and I think that's just an aberration. But you've had some stuff going on there, and it's been a little tense.
My parting shot, because I've got to get on with my day job. Texas is swapping high fives in the baseball room.
Mm-hmm.
And Tennessee, Arkansas in 13 days in Fayetteville is going to be epic.
Yeah. It feels like that's where we're headed. Graham, any parting thoughts?
Just that we knew the SEC is the best conference, and it shows again today. Like, the next closest, you got the ACC. What, they have 3 hosts compared to the SEC, and then just the most teams from any conference, the SEC. So that, and then what we just touched on a moment ago, to me, it's wide open. Like, there is no slam dunk, like, clear cut. This, like, I would be surprised if this team doesn't win it. I think this year it's wide open.
Yeah. By the way, reminder, join the membership tier. I've been saying it's $3. It's actually $4. Sorry about that. But if you do it, we'll give some bonus content. We'll do something this week. I'm considering having all right, now that we've had time to look at everybody, because we put all our time, most of our time on the SEC. I can read a stat sheet and look at some other leagues, but it's not as prepared as I want to be to give you a full-blown take on it. So we're gonna do that this week. We'll have previews of every single regional that SEC teams are in. We'll be rolling those out. I think we'll start some of those today, and we'll probably be rolling out the last of them on Wednesday. So subscribe to the channel. Those will all be free. And
hold on real quick. I do agree. Jay would have killed it on Around the Horn.
Oh, man. Around the Horn was made for Jay Greason.
RIP Around the Horn.
Yep. Pour one out.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I think that'll be a wrap. I'm going to.
Hey, one more time. Golf clap for Chris Brackets Lee up there. And we got through without referencing anybody's knuckle. So
63 out of 64.
All right. I think it's time for fresh air. And I'm losing my voice too. So probably also time to stop talking. But anyway, hey, thank you for Quinn, Josh, everybody who left a super chat. Thank you all for being here. We've had a lot of fun. I hope the information was helpful. We've got a ton of stuff coming up this week. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. That is free. The membership tier, $4 a month, helps the channel. We got bills to pay like everybody else, so would appreciate that. You will get some free content. We will have some bonus content this week. I just have not had time to think about what that is yet, but we'll come up with something. And yeah, looking forward to watching this. We'll have you covered all weekend and through the last pitch of Omaha, presuming that the SEC is still in it to that point, which I think is going to be a pretty good bet. For Jay Greason, for Graham Doty, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our veterans. We'll see you again soon at Southeastern 16.